Welcome back to another video. Today's topic is basically going to be a reminder of some things you need to think about whenever you're going through court. If you're new to this channel is about surviving toxic narcissistic relationships with primarily in divorces where you have kids involved. This channel helps you learn tips and techniques so that you can navigate this process, make your life a lot more sane, and work to help your children get through this. If that seems like something that could be helpful for you, please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the bell notification so that YouTube will tell you everything. The last thing I just want to mention is this channel is actually for both men and women, so don't feel that this is just a guy's channel. It's for anybody who's going through this because all of our stories are very similar. Okay, let's jump into today's topic. This comes from an individual who sent me an email, and I'll go ahead and pull this up. And basically, the subject of the email is "Lost my case today." The email basically says, I've watched some over 2 years. Thanks for doing this. You probably do this already, but please remind people in your video to never ever send long messages and never ever send mean messages. Never try to disagree through email. Keep walking on eggshells. Thanks again. Good luck with your channel, your children, and your channel. Okay, so just to clarify with this, I did reach out to this person because when I read that, it sounded like a pretty dark message. Obviously, when you go to court and you lose, that is a very trying time. I've had some more back and forth with this individual, and come to find out, what had happened is early on in the process, and you guys have heard me talk about this a lot, especially in the hybrid no contact. I'll put a card up above about this, is engaging in all the discussion and responding point by point to everything that they try to say in email. I try to remind you guys to focus on just the issues that pertain to the children. Do not focus on the personal attacks and don't respond to them. That way you can use their mean comments and whatnot in court if you need to, but you are not going tit for tat on the whole thing. In further discussion with this individual, he did make some comments that he should have absolutely not made. He didn't go into detail on what they were. Bottom line is, when they ended up in court and they ended up in front of a jury, I think it was a jury, they looked, or his ex used those emails as evidence to show that he was unhinged and he was angry and bitter, and they controlled the narrative. They were able to demonstrate what they were trying to do with those emails, and the jury bought it. Now, anytime we go into court, there's a risk. You never really know how things are going to go. You can make your best laid plans, but at the end of the day, it's tough sometimes to really know how things are going to go. We can make our best plans. We can make sure we make the least amount of mistakes, and that helps. When we make mistakes, it really, really hurts. Guys, remember, people don't get the full picture of everything. And when we try to explain certain things, you have to look at it not from what your understanding is, but from an external person who is taking a cursory look, or even if it's a deep dive look with a trial, but that they can come to the same conclusion that you can come to. You can come through and say, I'm the best father ever. Like, if I was trying to say that in my situation, but if I had tons of emails where I was calling my ex names, or I was being derogatory, or I would just look like I was being combative, then it undermines my story. It undermines what I'm trying to say. A lot of this is really about your perception, or how people perceive you. It's about the image that you present. You have to be incredibly careful about that. And if you end up making mistakes in that regard, if you end up saying things or doing things or responding or reacting, not responding, but you react in a negative way, you have to be aware of the significance of what that means. You can be in the right, but if it doesn't look like you're in the right, it's not gonna matter. And I know this is a really tough thing to hear, and it's not fair, like a lot of this stuff in here, but it's part of it's part of the game. I mean, if you do anything in life and you aren't prepared for it, or you train incorrectly for it, you're not going to perform well. If you're getting ready to try out, or you're getting ready to run a marathon, and you're doing weightlifting training and no running, and when you finally go on showtime to go do what you need to do, you're not going to be able to do it. Does that, I mean, maybe you can. I mean, some people can wing it, but I mean, you have to make sure that you have everything lined up. You have to make sure that you haven't made mistakes, or if you've made mistakes, you've tried to do some things to undo them. Like if you've taken anger management classes, or you've done whatever it is that you can do to try to demonstrate that things are different. Remember, your ex is not going to fight fair. They're not going to play fair. They are going to use everything in their power to try to demonstrate their version of the story and paint you as the bad guy. And just to clarify this is not just a guy bias thing. There are a lot of people on this channel. If you're new to this channel, there are a lot of people on this channel, both men and women, that have been, I hate to use the word victimized, but I'll say it, victimized by a toxic narcissistic ex-husband, an ex-wife, to manipulate the system, to paint the picture that they are unhinged, that they shouldn't be around the kids, and they're able to win. A toxic narcissistic person is focused on winning at all costs. There's no guilt, there's no remorse, there's no feelings of, well, guilt and remorse, basically, on what they're doing. They don't feel, they are focused on winning. They do not feel bad about doing anything towards you for you to lose, because it's not predicated on a position of honesty and integrity. It's on a position of winning. And most of the time, in their mind, they can make a story up in their own mind to demonstrate what they're trying to say, and in their mind, then it makes sense. Well, you're mean. See, right here, I got all the documentation. You're mean. See, so you're mean. You have to be incredibly careful about this, and you have to be realistic about where you're at in this process and the mistakes you've made. For instance, had I made more significant mistakes during my process, I would have realized, or I would have known that the likelihood of success would have been a lot more difficult. And to be perfectly honest, when I started this, when I was asking for 50-50, they said my likelihood of success was going to be pretty tough. Actually, my first attorney, who ended up, I had to remove him because he got sick and couldn't, I don't know what the heck the deal was, but he couldn't perform or couldn't work anymore. But he told me, he says, well, you have a chance of 50-50. It's probably going to cost you about $25,000 to $40,000. And he was pretty much right. My next attorney, after working with him and seeing what was going on, I mean, his confidence level kept going up and up and up, because I was demonstrating some positive aspects, and the ex, was demonstrating some negative aspects. So you have to understand that whole dynamic of it. You have to understand the optics. And like this person said, I mean, I'll just look at this again. Remind people, never send long messages. If you remember my hybrid no contact, you don't send long messages. They could send 5 pages and they ask, when is Johnny's soccer match? Hi, X, comma, the soccer match is Wednesday at 3 p.m. at field 4. Duane, right? That's it. You do not respond back with, if you did this, if you did this, you did that, or whatever, because oftentimes whenever you start doing that, it makes it really tough for people to understand the intent or what you're trying to say. Don't do it to yourself. Don't hand your ex a victory of your own making. It's counterintuitive. I'll give you another example on this, because my ex used to try to do that, and I won't answer your emails because you're always being nasty in your emails. And I actually said to her, and this was during mediation, I said, well, then you've already won. If you have all these emails that demonstrate that I am just this nasty person, you have already won, so answer the email, was the comment I made. That's my point, right? I mean, you keep all that documentation straightforward, to the point, and do not go down that road. Do not start arguing with them over text or over email. It's a trap. It's bait. They're trying to get you to respond exactly that way so they can demonstrate, or they can use it to demonstrate that that's who you are. And every one of us, I would imagine, and put your comment down below if this doesn't pertain, or let me know what a thumbs up if you do. All of us have done it. Every one of us has responded inappropriately. Every one of us has let our anger and our bitterness and our frustration get the most of us and responded in a not appropriate way. If you are dealing with somebody who is severely toxic and malicious, and they can push your buttons and get you to do that in a way that they can document it, you have really set yourself up for badness. So, but if you know this, if you can be reminded of this, do not take the bait. Just don't do it. Refer back to hybrid no contact. Look at that video. I mean, if you're struggling with this, watch that video once a week and just drill that into your head so that you know what you need to do and what you need not to do. And one thing I will tell you is when you're being proactive about that, whenever you're doing this in a way to where you're being deliberate and you know what you're doing and you know how it's going to affect you, it's actually empowering. And what I mean is there is a time whenever your ex will send you an email and you'll want to respond, and you will respond, and you feel if you don't, you feel like they're winning, or you feel like you're giving them tacit approval or validation that what they're saying is true. When you pivot with that, and when you realize that by not responding, it's a victory to you and it's driving them crazy because they're not getting the response, it actually helps a lot. It helped a lot with me. It'll probably help a lot with you. So on that, I'm going to wrap this up. I hope that reminder helps you. My heart really goes out to this guy because that is just super frustrating. When you go through all of this and you lose, it's tough. It's tough whenever you don't have a destructive defeat, and it's just partly, your ex still kind of wins. It's still very empowering for a toxic narcissistic ex because they just take anything that isn't a crushing defeat to them as a victory, and if they really win, oh dear God. And that's kind of where the conversation with this person is leading now. Is now he's like, oh crap, I'm already starting to see things happen, and so I'll be working with him on how to address that. So on that, I'm going to wrap this up. If this seems like it would pertain to you, please subscribe, hit the bell notification so that you're actually notified. If you know someone else who could benefit from this, please consider sending it to them. If you need one-on-one coaching, I am available for that. Just go to dadsurvivingdivorce.com/coaching and book a session, and I will chat with you on the next video. Take care. Bye.